Hey, good afternoon, everyone.
Hey, Nita. Good afternoon.
Good evening on your side.
Almost 4 o'clock. Yes, sir. Sakul, Aimer, Josh. How are you guys doing? Charlie's back. Hey, Charlie.
Hi, Yogesh. How you doing?
All right, my friend. How are you?
Good, good. Nice and refreshed.
Yeah, we need that, right? Every once in a while.
Yeah.
Were you on vacation?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Oh, nice.
Although we don't call it vacation anymore. It's voluntary time off, VTO.
Oh, wow. I volunteer there.
Big on volunteering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Dean is here. Hey, Dean. See you again.
Yeah, guys.
Yeah. So, shall we start collecting opens? I'm sure we can start in a little bit here. I don't know if is Drew in office today or not, but yeah. Yeah. Any opens, anyone? Before we get started with regular stuff. Not. Okay. Now, I'm in a little bit of bind here because I do not have, I'm logged in from a different computer today. And I mean, I don't have all the documents open. So, yes, we'll just have to wait for Drew to join or someone who can share. Rita, unless you have it open and you want to start going through that, that'll be great.
Yeah, I can share, Yogesh.
Yeah, let's start taking a look at it and so Dean, I was thinking further about what you said. I mean, this is of course being open forum, or this is just being like a kind of a not a spec tight document, not mandatory. It's just a requirements, industry opinion, common industry opinion kind of document. We we established that we don't really need to go through like a very formal voting process that you might have seen in other industry bodies where they have strict logo compliance. So everyone is like, I must get it right, otherwise there'll be consequences. They're not harsh consequences. And we've been really working on it together for I think longer than we really needed. We really should have, but I guess we needed to. So what I'm getting with that is I was thinking about what you suggested about, hey, would we have a poll or not? I said, okay, we can do that, but I really just want to have people and really you decide to put your name in front or not. That's really your calling, right? If you don't agree with something, you either bring it here, we resolve it, and you put your name in front, or if you don't want to, you just don't, right? Because it's not, none of it is binding in that sense, right? What do you think about that, Dean?
Well, you said a few different things, so I'm not sure I can give you one answer. I've been in organizations where it's stated, okay, this is not going to be binding, but we want to take a poll. And then what happens is sometime later, someone says, well, 10 out of 12 people or 6 out of 11 companies or something voted for it. So it's misrepresented. If it's not binding, then there's no reason to do a poll, in my opinion. If you have one, I won't participate. Because the tables get turned sometimes, even if it's not on purpose. It's a little bit strange to talk about it's not binding, but it's requirements. Well, I thought that was the definition of requirements.
Yeah, the requirement term is kind of in a gray zone, really. Requirement means really in this context is we wish you do this, but that's all we can say. This is not, there's no specification which makes you do this, right? It's really that. So requirements is a little bit of stronger term than what is actually achievable using this document in this form. If we want to make it in any sense binding, it has to be converted into OCP spec format, which is 2-level spec, base, and other detail. I'm trying to remember what it's called. But OCP has a specific format for those kind of specifications. And that's what we're doing in RAS API. But for this, I just want to not be delayed. That's only reason for it is we are kind of getting closer to the global summit. And I think we're almost done. So I don't see a whole lot of value in. I'm only afraid of it, the process delaying it even further. That's
So Yogesh, I agree with the fact that it's actually nearing what I consider completion. I think the group has done a lot of work, good work, and absorbing positions, making compromises, moving in certain directions, refining things. So I think that's all good, and I think you're right. The question of whether it's guidelines or requirements or specification or mandatory, I don't know if that should stop progress. And then the third thing I mentioned, so I mentioned a couple other things. The third thing for me is it depends what position my legal department takes. How will they view this? Are there contributions involved in this? Do we want to withdraw? Somebody else is going to have to review all the legal overhead of OCP, which I'm not intimately familiar with. But I think the work of this group should continue because I think if I could edit it, I would probably make a few changes and say things like, this is the position of the cloud service providers for what's desirable for a more flexible environment, more flexible, but also more predictable. I think as a platform provider, SOC provider, IP provider, I'm a little concerned that, it looks like it represents those companies as well. And I don't know if that's true, but I'm supportive of it. I think it's a good piece of work in a good direction. So I would not let those things hold you up. I think the progress has been worthwhile.
Yeah, and to your point, I agree with what you just said with also, but I think there is more work to be done. For example, some of the work that we done in RAS API, for example, right? That is that level where we'll have all of that, very very crisply written, implementable specification. And more of that nature can come out of come on basis of this framework. So this is like kind of overall supervisory kind of or I don't know what's the right word here, but the work we do here, I mean, this was the vision since the beginning, like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. That's what I said back then, that we'll spawn work streams out of this work, where we'll do very crisp specification level work on specific topics. For example, we can define things very tightly for memory, right? What we need to do there. That's the kind of work we're doing in FMFM. And that's where what you said there makes sense for those things. Like memory vendors can sign off on that, and then it becomes a real requirement in that sense of requirement, right? So yeah, that's kind of, I think we're agreeing with each other.
So the,
So
the, big- the
Yogesh,
big word, I'm sorry, Charlie, one
No,
last
go
thought.
ahead, Dean, go ahead.
The big word that you kind of hinted at before, maybe said, was compliance. So standards imply compliance, and compliance implies some way to measure that. And then you have people who do or do not comply. And I don't think this spec is one which really talks about compliance, but a RAS
Yeah.
API might. So that might be a fine line you can use to decide which side of the fence it's on. Okay, Charlie, I yield the floor.
Thank you, Dean. Yeah, so Dean, I agree with what you've said, and maybe take a step back and ask this question. Say I am a server designer, and I say my design is OCP compliant. What does that really mean? Now, does that mean I can turn around and sell my server to customers and claim that it complies with this document? Or is this really,
Yeah.
is this more of a guideline for, hey, I'm a
This
server
one.
designer. I want to design a good, reliable server. I'm going to follow these guidelines. And I might use this server internally. I'm not going to sell it outside. Or if I sell it outside, what specs am I really following?
So,
Yeah.
Charlie, to answer your question directly, what will happen is the vendors will have servers compliant with say RAS API specification, or if that level memory error reporting will come out of FMFM, DIM vendors will be able to say, okay, I comply with FMFM specification, whereas right now they say, okay, we support and we design, our design philosophy is aligned, or our error handling philosophy is aligned with OCP fault handling framework. But the real compliance is more narrow and on certain protocols or interfaces or reporting requirements, things of that nature. It's not, this one is too broad for
Yes,
compliance.
agreed. Yeah, Yogesh, you're absolutely right. This is too broad to be a spec. It is more of a guideline. But when we drill down into the details of like information coming from the different components, what formats they are in, things like that, that could be a specification, but it's a much more narrow.
Yeah. Well, and before we started this, we were all over the place. And so this is a framework that ties everything we're doing together.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I
so
can
in
give you
that
some
sense, it
example.
is more of a guideline than a specification.
Yeah. I can give you example. This is a guideline. For example, we have this OCP GPU RASPEC 1.0 contributed, right? We use this as referenced as a guidelines for out of band RAS implementation. We refer to this guidelines. I think this one is like a Uber. It is covering for multiple like is covering framework individual like a memory or GPU devices. There are other requirements docs which like little bit strict about, hey, implement this feature. The memory vendors need to support this, GPU vendors need to support this. Okay, this started as a like a overall guideline framework.
So I think like the two words that we're using most is guideline and framework, and we're not like using specifications as much. And to me, that sounds pretty clear. It's a guideline or a framework, but not binding. That would be a specification.
Yeah, we are like let's say we are individually driving with like silicon vendors like that. Maybe Meta is driving, maybe Dell is driving, right? He as these are the requirements. Can we do out of band this way? Maybe Meta is trying to do in band this way.
Yeah,
Like
it's
we're
not a
using this
requirement, I
framework
would say.
to discuss with silicon vendors. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So last comment from Anil, and then let's get this thing done.
Yeah, we'll get more busy.
Actually, my comment is, can we open the document and just plow through it and make progress to complete it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said too. Let's do it.
Thank
So I know Mita, you're sharing. Do you want to share now? I think he was holding the pen on this one for a while.
And by the way, if you read the executive summary in the very beginning, the first sentence says this proposal outlines a framework that addresses challenges. So it starts from there, right? So I don't think we should be debating that.
Okay, I'll share. Yeah, there we go. This is what Anil was talking about. So, so thank you, Mita.
So, Drew, I think we settled that matter. Why don't we try to finish it up? I mean, I don't think we need to start at executive summary. Are we somewhere in the middle where we need to start?
We're
Yeah,
still,
Yeah.
so there's two things left. There's your update to the poison flow in this.
Gosh, I'm the one who's holding it back. Okay, what else? I got on this
No,
sheet.
I worked on it. I have some comments. So I think the poison thing could
Oh
be
no,
pretty-
I got, as you know, I got totally sidetracked with things I didn't tell. So yeah, yeah, we can work together on this.
Let's do it right now because we all are here, right? And let's
Yeah.
make use of this time. As far
Okay,
as the comment from Mita here, I agree that let's review it after we finish to the end of the document, then come back and I think a lot of these comments from Mita are all valid, like grammar and all that, or some things like cleaning up, which is good. And we can even work offline and accept most of these.
Yeah, I think, yeah. And I mean, like, I'm just going to accept that. I mean, if you fix a spelling thing, you know, but, and I guess what I'm inclined to do, as long as it hadn't changed the meaning, it's just grammar cleanup. I'm inclined to go through and just accept it.
It's all trivial stuff. There's no change in the meaning. It's mainly just stylistic and grammatic.
Yeah, so that's good. I'm glad that you looking, and
Yeah.
I will encourage others also to look at it. And if you find something that can be improved further, please by all means do that.
And so if someone, you know, like, I don't mind taking the action item to go through Mita's comments and accept the ones that are just grammar things and bring the ones up that are, if I see any that I think are meaning, you know, refinements. But it's up to you all. If you all are comfortable with that, you know, we can take a shortcut and just get that done.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so
maybe Mita should clarify, Mita, if anything which is not just grammar, please call that out. Otherwise,
Yeah, if it's not grammar, I've left a comment and that was also pretty minor. Other than that, it's just grammar and stylistic. I haven't changed the meaning. It's just that I was reading and I figured I might as well do it.
So I think we can discuss more offline, but I think let's not get into it if you want to. Otherwise, the suggestion I had about the placement of RAS API in that I think we should do that, because that otherwise will cause confusion down the line, and that's common for BMC, so that shouldn't affect that mess.
what are we talking about? The replacement of RAS API?
Not replacement. Remember, I sent you like 2 weeks ago. I sent you this modified diagram, and then you saved it somewhere else. Because the currently how we are showing things inside, and I think I shared it with Shubhada also, so she's aware. But the things inside the BMC, the way things are flowing, is not how RAS API is supposed to work, right? So that's why, but that doesn't change this example. So we can do that after.
Okay, let's do that then. Let's and I had some feedback on the example. We can what I would encourage folks to do is open the document and have the picture up with the little circles, and then I'll scroll through the text. And you can make sure the circles are in the right place. So most of this is pretty straightforward and hadn't really changed. Memory controller, you know, detects an error, poisons a cache line, and then this is an OOB side of it. You had a different M-band example, and so you know, we send information to the RAS API agent, and it forwards the CPR log to the agent to specific code. Now this I think is unnecessary. And I'll explain, I put a long comment, but I can explain pretty succinctly why. Today, if an OS sees something consume poison, like you know, you have an application and it tried to consume poison, it's super safe for the OS to assume that the address that the application tried to consume poison at is poison. It just got the poison. So you know the 4K page has poison in it, and you know you should stay out of it. We don't have to tell it to stay out of it. It knows it's all.
It's not mandatory. OS is not relying. This is DNC can actually do it.
No, but it doesn't need to, and this is a
It's
really
not required. You're absolutely right. It's not required. OS can make the determination on its own to offline the page.
well, no, yeah. The OS should just offline the page by default. Now the trick is that the OS, so the OS can assume the page is bad, it got poison, but it can't assume that the memory is the cause of the poison. That's the trick. But the problem is that the OS isn't going to like be looking at errors like the analyzer. The analyzer will go, oh, I see all these errors. Hey, this PCI thing over here was the cause of the poison, and memory's fine. And so my point is that I think that later I added a bullet that the analyzer might determine that the memory is safe. The OS should just offline the page because it knows it has poison in it. And then if we figure out, hold on, I see the poison generation event. It wasn't memory. The memory was an innocent bystander that just got poisoned from somewhere else. We could tell the OS, you know what? You can go ahead and use that page again. And then the OS can clear it. But that comes later. That's asynchronous. There's no hurry. The OS can live without a page for a little while we do some error analysis. But the OS cannot wait to offline the page, because if it keeps using it, it's going to poison. It's going to hammer itself to death. So what I'd like to do, if it's okay with folks, is reverse that example and say the BMC can write the HEST, you know, like, and I put something here. If the analyzer determines memory is safe to use, in other words, not the cause of the poison, it can send a CPAD to the host OS through the BMC and CPU that tell the OS that it can clear the poison and start using memory. Oh, I'm sorry, you're broken up. Could you say it again, you guys?
This is invent path or this is BMC. So is it out of invent path or handling or invent handling? Sorry.
I can't understand you, but I'm assuming that we have an out-of-band analyzer.
No. So can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
So what I was trying to understand was, did we make two examples, one for in-band, one for out-of-band?
Yes. I mean, that's what you did.
Which one is this? This is in-band handling?
Out-of-band.
Okay, so I totally agree with that, because that was you know, that bullet or that number 4 was from out-of-band example that needs to be deleted. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll just have 10 instead, is what I would propose.
10 is yes. If it clears, then if the memory is cleared of any fault, then yes, OS can reclaim the space for.
Yogesh,
But if it
did you
doesn't,
just ask? Sorry, Yogesh, you just asked if this was the out-of-band example, and this is the out-of-band example. It's not the in-band example.
yeah.
No, I think
Well,
I thought you scrolled up and it says in-band illustration.
No,
No,
it's out of band. This is
no, it's out of band, and I didn't understand why it said page offlining there, because it's not an out of band activity. The page offlining is an in-band activity.
oh, it doesn't have to be, and that's maybe something.
Yeah, but so that confused me a little bit. The other aspect is even the first bullet, actually thinking about it, the memory controller detects and logs UC errors. And so in the case of a memory, right? In the ARM architecture, for example, there is a concept of deferred error, right? UC, because UC is usually fatal, you are going to usually report a deferred error because you leave it to the consumer to be the one that is the decider on whether something is impactful or not, right? So I wonder if like we should be a bit more careful with even the first bullet.
So we can talk about that. I think we have a list of error categories that and so, you're right. We should probably say non-fatal recoverable.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'll make that change. I mean, we should be self-consistent in the dot, right?
Yeah.
And we defined what those were. So, and then you can map those to your architecture. So,
Yeah.
so it's, I'm gonna say non-fatal recoverable, and I'll just accept that. And that matches this dot. So good call.
Okay. But so Drew, you were saying like, yeah, BMC here, we're only talking about the BMC in this.
Well, I think this bullet should be gone.
Yeah, I agree also. But I'm not sure why we should start this paragraph with poisoned page of lining, right?
Yeah.
The page
Poison
of
generation.
lining is
This is
an
poison generation and logging. Yeah.
or reporting or
Okay.
because the page of lining is an action that is taken by the operating system.
Poison detection, I think, but let's put poison detection. The first is poison detection and poison consumption, right? So what happens?
This is generation is the term I think we generally use because it's in this case we're generating poison, right?
Okay.
Memory poison, right?
I mean, it doesn't really matter where, right? It's just generated. And it's clear below that it's memory, but yeah. I'm not going to say memory poison consumption, memory poison generation, or I can, a memory fault analysis, but I'd rather just be general. Poison was generated, poison was consumed, the error was analyzed, and we did something about
it. Why are we limiting this paragraph to the out-of-band aspect? Because in that paragraph, there could also be an in-band signaling, right?
Because there's a separate in-band section. Now,
okay, so
now what we would say, I think that's a really good point, actually, though. So I think in 4, the OS sees the attempted poison consumption and handles it. And I'm not going to specify, each OS may be a little bit different.
Drew, I think that's kind of in the 0.6 and 7 already, like especially 7.
Oh yeah, I'm so sorry. You're absolutely right. No, thank you. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So it attempts to consume the poison from the cache, and then I would say
the point, sorry, Drew, the point I was trying to make is the consumption is still different than the generation. At the generation point, an error may still be signaled to the OS and may still be consumed by the OS. And it's different than the poison consumption by the requester that would be signaled by the requester, right? So the initial signaling is not limiting to out of band, and it happens.
I would urge you to read the example above because we talk about that timing. They could be together, or they could be. This could have happened a month earlier, or it could have happened immediately. We don't know.
Yeah, but that's why I thought we should signal that it may happen in band at in the same breath there at poison generation, way before it's seen at poison consumption, right? I was just questioning why do we limit poison generation to the out of band here?
May I say something here? Sorry, Drew. I understand the complexity of this flow. So I think we should, right in the beginning, we should make it clear that the poison-related flows will have dependency on in-band, out-of-band. In this subsection, we will describe the flows associated with out-of-band handling. And then subsequent section will describe the in-band. So that way we are not saying, oh, this is it, right? We are simply saying that some part is out of band, and that's what we're describing here.
That's fine. I think that works.
I mean, it says that actually, if you scroll up, it says out of band error handling for poison creation to fault analysis.
But it doesn't acknowledge that there's a in-band flow that
Exactly.
happens. in this
Yeah,
Exactly.
the
case.
in-band is in the next section.
Yeah.
No, no,
As far as,
but we should make a statement right there, right?
yeah.
So that and because Seb's points are very valid, right? If I'm reading this thing and my interpretation of the bullet may be different than somebody else, therefore just state it. State the intent of this, what we want to say here. That there is some part is in band, which is described in this event section.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
And Drew, I
As
think
well.
in the bullet, we do say poison creation and fault analysis. Sorry, but if you go scroll up, please.
Well, let me finish the statement you wanted.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, one bullet at a time, please. But here, how
No,
about this?
sorry. Yeah, finish it.
Is that what you want? Right here, the green.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
I think, and you can say that and it is described in the next section instead of but just say and it is described in the next section.
And it is described. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I couldn't. It got muddled for me. Is it just me or?
No, I couldn't hear the last part either, Sakul, if you could.
It's just
Yeah.
changing the but to an and.
Yeah, but to and and it is
thank
described
you.
in the next
Okay,
section.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
Good, I'm happy. Okay, I'm gonna accept that. I'll accept Anil's. I'll put a space in. Okay, I think that sounds good. So if we're set there, then Anil, okay, I think we're covered there, right? And then we can go to Anil's next comment.
One quick question, Drew. Like we are referring to RAS API, which spec version like we are referring to?
Actually, Rama, before you go there, I have a
Okay.
suggestion.
Let's keep going.
I'll come back to RAS API also because I'm a little bit concerned here. So let's go up to the bullet of this section. Yeah, so illustration of frameworks, out of band error handling, poison creation to fault analysis, right? So either you say poison generation to fault analysis, or if you want to leave, because that's what I was saying earlier, right? It's a creation, but you change it to generation. Just change it to generation then here. Okay. All right. Now, as far as Rama, your point about the RAS API, my request would be to not associate this framework so strictly, tightly with RAS API. Because RAS API is not still not a public information.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, right?
So
that's going to trash this document. We need to mention the RAS. I think we can say that.
Let me finish it.
Because this much is public. So this much is public. It's been
I vigorously oppose what you're saying, but I'll hear you out.
Let me finish it, guys. What I would like to propose here is to call out that although we are specifying RAS API users here, however, this framework is not relied on just RAS API. It could be any other interface also.
No, we don't want to go there. I don't think.
Yes, we do want to go there.
Yeah,
we don't want
to deliberately say something that we are creating that, okay, we are creating this, but we encourage you to use something else.
I think my point is it's okay to RAS API, which spec we are referring. Otherwise, people will get confused.
There's only one version out there.
No, refer to in the spec some version.
Right now, only thing is 0.5 version, okay? And now
Yeah,
what
so in the
we don't need to mention version, right? Like it is the
no, what Rama is saying is wherever we use RAS API for the first time, add a reference to the RAS API, whatever version is contributed. Okay, that will solve the problem, Rama.
Okay.
Yeah, just like we just refer to particular version.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Because they know that next version is coming up, right? People will have like think through that. My only
this is where the confusion will happen, guys. Okay, because 0.5 version which is out there, right, has I mean the RAS API, the way we are describing here or what we are using here is so different from in 0.5 version that basically the interpretation is going to be, okay, in order for me to really make use of this framework, I have to wait for some more time before actual API spec comes out.
Actually, at
No,
which
we
part is
just need to
different?
provide the
Which part
concept.
is referred here? Hold on a second. Let me ask.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Which part you say is mentioned here that looks different to you in the contribution that's out there? What are you talking about specifically?
Yeah, so the way in the 0.5 version, first of all, 0.5 version was such a high level framework.
No, in this document, what is that we're saying about RAS API? Can you point to RAS API in this document where it's different?
Yeah. So the RAS API agent in this BMC box, right? And then RAS API agent in the in-band management IMA box. I think we should put an asterisk there and say, okay, this is illustration, okay, and not strictly confined to RAS API agent.
It is illustration. That's the title of the section, illustration.
Let me, my point is just refer to the current spec, okay, and say like a later spec review.
Yeah, we'll do that. But Anil, your point is also valid. What we'll do is we will, and the RAS API will not have any details which, or any illustrations, the kind of stuff which actually affects the framework illustration. But to your point, we will clean up and put the RAS API contribution out there before we do this one. How about that?
That's for the Yogesh, we will be in binding here, right? We want
not
to
really, no. I mean, we do want to promote RAS API, but there's actually, I don't agree that there's anything that actually dilutes anything in this document because of the RAS API version that's out there. But still, to promote RAS API in a more meaningful way, we will update and clean up that spec before we put out this version, which with RAS API references. I think that's a good idea. Sorry, Shubda, you've been waiting.
Yeah, no, I just want to make a point that the specification version is not really needed here, right? What we are talking about is RAS API agent concept and where we are heading, right? You can just add a reference and put it in the references list, and that's it. Like, I think mentioning that inside the document is really not needed, like the version.
So you're saying that use RAS API agent in a very generic term, not tied to any specification.
No, tied to the specification that goes inside the reference, but we don't need to put it inside this document in the content that Drew is writing, right? Like, and we can add a blurb about what RAS API agent is. The details are in this location and this particular work group, and the concept is where we have these four areas, right? Like configs and logs, and that's it. Like we don't need to go into the detail of what
exactly
it entails.
And Anil, there are not going to be any details in either of the documents about RAS API that could be contradictory. Actually, the way the spec is being written and the illustration is being made, we are not getting into formats, commands, or any details of that level. So it's not likely to be contradictory or confusing in any manner. But your point is valid. We'll be extra careful about that.
Okay, so as long as we are not calling out RAS API spec anywhere here, I'm okay with that. Just use this in a generic term. There's agent, it's called RAS API. That's it.
No, this is a problem with RAS API calling out, like referring to the contribution also. I don't see anything wrong with that either.
As I just said, I mean, we wouldn't want to associate with a spec which is not fully baked.
But that's what we're talking about. It's not there, but we are not talking about anything that is either wrong in the spec or not in the spec or confusing in the spec. Either of those two, either of the two. So why not?
Sorry, you're saying that it's not in the. You're saying both ways, that we are tying it with a spec, but we are not.
This is a high level illustration. There are no details which are contradictory.
We're tying it to the spec, and that like remember what we were saying at the beginning. This is a framework that ties everything together. So the spec flows out of this. This is guiding, like when we developed the RAS API, we are guiding it to fit this. This is guiding the RAS API, and but what we have in the RAS API doesn't contradict this. It's an outflow of this. So I mean we can say that. We can say that this document is being used to guide the development of the RAS API.
I love that. I think that meets the intent, right? It's not shouldn't be other way around that we are referring to a spec. You should say that this document is providing a framework for RAS API. That's it. And we should not even we should only say that it is going to try this spec, right? Just that's it.
Okay. So
in that, then we don't have to get confused. Okay, this is talking about RAS API spec and which version of spec and all that.
It's not just one way. It's a complementary relationship. This model is built on RAS API. RAS API is motivation. RAS motivation is this document. This illustration, this framework is also built on.
Basically, the point here is, I think, and maybe we don't have to make any change here. I think I got confused when somebody, maybe Rama, you asked which version of the spec, right? We are not calling out any specification here.
We can refer to the contribution, which is fine, but again, there are no details which can confuse anyone. We have it in the reference. We are not putting like any. We are not, for example, saying use this format or this protocol or this transport. None of that nature, right? It's just a box. It's a black box. No details are exposed. So how could it be any problematic? But we do want to promote that, okay, this framework can be built out of band or in band using RAS API.
You're right. That's the key thing, right? We don't want to say, okay, this is the only way.
Yeah, this is you can build it anything you want.
Anil, we want to move towards that, right? I mean, this document is the genesis of.
That's fair, right? If someone wants to, that's fair. Someone wants to build it.
Yeah, I think what Drew wrote here is fine. Let's just move on. Yeah, and don't call it spec. And you're not calling spec, so that's good. I'm good with that.
Well, the RAS API is going to be a spec, but right? I mean, it is, but this is a framework.
We are going to reference RAS API in the references, and I don't think there is any problem with that. If someone wants to suggest that, hey, I don't want to use RAS API, I want to use, my API, go ahead, do it. No one's stopping you. Framework is still valid. Illustration is done using RAS API because same group of people is creating two specifications, one framework and one specification. What's wrong with that?
Why do you want to make a future statement like is being used to guide? Doesn't that make this obsolete at some point and you have to rewrite it?
How about guide?
All this text was fine the way it was. Nothing's needed. It refers to the RAS API.
Right.
As was mentioned earlier, that was already made public. The details of which can change, but it fundamentally serves a certain purpose. And I think we're spending a lot of effort.
Yeah.
For no reason here.
This is good.
I think that is a good point. I think, see, that is evolving. It's about to release. I think like people understand in the industry, just refer to the current spec and move on. I think
Yeah, let's move on. I think we agreed. So.
Like not referring, like people may not know outside of like all people attending hardware fault management. And
I do agree though with Anil that it's okay. I think it's okay to say this guides other OCP efforts. Is that
that line is okay? Yeah.
Does
anyone have a concern with that sentence?
No, that's simple. I mean, that's always been the intent. Like I said in the beginning, that we will this
okay.
Like Rama used a very good term. I like the term Uber. This Uber effect creates those work streams and that specification level work. So that's the intent.
Okay, cool. So we got that, and okay, and so now back here, and we'll have to work on the numbering. I think I have to. I think what I have to do is, if I accept that deletion, it'll do the renumbering. Okay. Okay, so application. No, it's not really shall not. This is not a spec. This is like an application. You can't tell well, the application attempts to consume poison from the cache, and you get a machine check. I think this. We're not writing the spec here. We're going through a scenario, and the language is different.
I just want to clarify there is no consumption, and we should make it very clear in the right beginning. We never consume poison.
So let's see. Oh crap. Okay. So.
Or maybe we can say will not, right? The application will not, right? Maybe that's fine. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
No, I'm fine with the preventing consume poison. It's just a scenario. So this is what it does. The application tries to do it, but the OS gets an exception. But I don't know if we want to say machine check exception or just exception. But I'm fine with preventing.
What you just said, Drew, is better. That's an application running on CPU attempts to consume poison data from cache, but never consumes. Then I'm okay. But make it very clear that it never consumes.
Actually,
it says that in the next one. You don't need to repeat it.
I agree with the next line, O'Neill.
No, but that we know that OS comes before, right? Therefore, it never consumes. But if a layman person,
the application, it prevented the application. But it should be preventing the application from.
The OS does not prevent the application from consuming it. The hardware does.
But the exception does, because you take. So the exception is the preventer.
That's right.
So the OS gets an exception.
And that's a very, very unique distinction, right? That if you rely on a OS, there is always a risk consumption. So it's a hardware-based logic concept. We have to ensure it's a hardware-based concept, transaction level.
Okay, how about CPU takes an exception into the OS? Takes an exception. That way it's hardware. It takes an exception. I don't know, stop suggesting. It's driving me crazy. Okay, takes an exception.
Yeah, it should be other way around. Your bullet 5 should come first.
Into the the application attempts to consume the poison, but the CPU takes the exception after it as part of that attempt.
I mean, that's fine.
The attempt occurs first. You can't take an exception without the attempt.
So
no,
would it help?
We already established, right? We're saying generation where we're talking about that somebody, the initial starting point is somebody is trying to access a memory. That's the starting point. Maybe we should say that.
No,
okay,
no,
and this whole flow starts from there.
Neil, that's different. The memory controller could have generated poison for some other reason. It could have been a speculative read.
That's fine. That's another example. That's another flow. That's not what we are describing here. We're describing a flow, and you're right. That's another flow. Let's keep.
But I don't. This is a non-constructive discussion. We clearly say the application attempts to consume poison, but the OS takes the interruption, preventing it from happening.
Would it help if we said prevent the application from ever consuming the poison data? Would that help?
I think then in that case, you can just combine step 4 and 5 because they all go head to head. I mean, by separating out, it seems like I'm stopping there and then somebody else doing something else, right? I mean, they're all going hand to hand.
Before the application can use the poison, there. Now that hits you over the head with it.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Thank you.
Maybe let's just.
Yeah. The key thing I want to highlight, Drew, because I know there's so many documents there. People talk about consumption. Poison consumption never happens, and we keep talking about poison consumption.
Well, yeah,
that's all I want to point out. Okay.
We've got a whole document on that will describe that. So, but this isn't that. So, we need to move on. We need to like let's keep going.
Yeah.
So the next thing that happens is that the RAS API agent, let's see. Well, okay. Sure. I mean, I don't really care, but we are doing the out of band thing, so I think, let's see, BMC's RAS API agent expose the machine check information of the vendor analyzer. Okay. And then the BMC. Now this one, I went actually and had a chat with Jixon Joy at Google this week, and we have some ideas we want to bring here, but I don't know that like I'd love to correlate platform telemetry with error logs using some identifier that the OS can also use in the logs it collects, so that an out of band, in band, and telemetry can all be correlated. But I guess what I question is that really germane to this example? I think we can delete this bullet personally, because we already got the error log, and the error log should be complete enough for basic analysis.
Yeah, I agree. Let's keep it simple, right? Your bullet number 6 covers getting the data.
Okay, so that's not controversial. I'm deleting it.
Also, Drew, for bullet 6, could you change machine check to error?
We
don't want x86 specific.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
I'm gonna call it hardware error information. And I'll say the hardware error. Okay. Then and I added suggest self-repair, I think, or no, Yogesh did, or did I? No, I did. Okay. I added suggest self-repair. And then I said if the analyzer determines memory safe to use, i.e. not to cause poison, you can send a CPAD. And then, CSP infrastructure will do fleet level analysis and CSP policy-based RAS optimizations. And let me clean this up so that we're seeing the final thing. Okay, so are we on track for this use case now?
On the step 8, I'm not sure it is accurate.
Yeah, on step 8, you say also BMC and CPU, and I was wondering about that.
Oh, no, okay. No, the last part, right? There is, whether it's the memory or the cache or whatever, the clearing poison is just doesn't exist. I mean, I don't know how you can do that.
It does exist in some places, Neil. So Seb, to your point, this is what we're proposing, is that we'll be able to send a CPAD back, and we can tickle ACPI to expose something to the OS. And so,
yeah, but Drew, I was questioning the end, just questioning the end, because
because look at CPADs. CPAD in our case, for an out of band use case, they go back to the BMC. And so then from the BMC, where do they go? They go to the CPU, and then the CPU will go to that RAS API agent, and then it does something with ACPI to expose it up to the OS.
And implies parallel. So what you just described is not a parallel send, right? It goes to one, and it might be sent through that one to another. I think that's the point.
Is that your point, Seb?
Yeah.
I see. Okay. Well, I mean, it does go through both of them. So how do I reword it? I was trying to.
You can say through. Well, yeah.
Well, through the BMC and through the CPU.
I think it's already playing it, right? I don't think it's right.
To the CPU via the BMC. It's just a lot of detail that it's really not necessary. But if you're going to talk about it,
I think actually it is quite necessary, because it shows we're showing the flow, right? This is and this shows the flow. It goes, and this is a big deal, is that we will be able to go to the BMC and get a message to the OS.
Or maybe by way of BMC and the CPU, it's just
Yeah, I think Dean suggested via BNP and yeah.
Like that, or do I say just?
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, it's both, right? So yeah, via BMC and CPU. I think that's through the CPU, same thing. But I don't
Say
know.
via here?
Yeah, you can drop through the CPU via BMC and CPUs already.
Well, I mean, I had through the BMC and the CPU, so I changed the
Yeah,
word.
Same thing. Same thing. Yeah, I think it was okay. Yeah.
And
That's
just
okay.
to come back to the clearing, Drew, I understand there are some cases where clearing the poison may be possible, but the way it is written here looks like this is the flow, right? This is one way, one option to clear, but that's not necessarily all the cases, right? So we just called it out, okay? And it can clear the poison if possible, okay? Because not like this is it. In fact, most of the cases it cannot. Very acidic cases will clear it.
Yeah, I mean, generally, if you have a cache line right, you're not read modifying right on a lot of CPUs, you'd be surprised. It will clear poison.
So Drew, how about we break that sentence as a second sentence? So information got to OS, and then optionally, what OS can do can be a separate sentence that tells the OS. Starting that tells the OS. Then it kind of doesn't make it part of that action, but optionally, it can OS can clear the.
So if possible, the OS may clear the poison.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get the last bullet done.
And if not, then it marks the bad page and possibly.
Well, the page was marked bad.
That's what it's clearing. That's what it's clearing, right? It's already marked, and now it is trying to clear it, so it can start using the address, right? Okay.
Oh, I see. So this sentence, actually, this step 9 doesn't exist. It doesn't belong in the fault analysis, right?
I mean, it really fits better, I think. I think it fits better under bullet 9 still. So maybe it's really part of that flow.
I'm confused now. You're saying it's part of the page offline on step 5, which is in the past.
It's actually a page unoffline, not so it's basically the opposite of what happens in step 5. You clear the poison, you unoffline the page and start using it.
Exactly. And so think about it this way, Anil. At the moment the OS consumes the poison, it knows there's poison in that memory, but it doesn't know why. And the OS may or may not have the ability. They typically don't. They typically don't have the ability to go, oh, that was a PCI thing. It's okay. I can use that memory again.
So I got it, Drew. I think after fault analysis, probably the subsequent action is where this part will belong, because it's not part of analysis, right? You're taking an action after that, right? So you have a consumption, fault analysis, and a fault action, or maybe some action, right? Or as action.
Actually, if you change analysis or add action also there, that would be okay.
Yeah, fault analysis and action is fine. Then yeah.
Okay, tell me where am I adding action?
Fault analysis and action. I would like to see fault analysis.
Okay.
I would say fault analysis, leave it up to analysis, right? And then say RAS action as a separate, like a fault analysis.
Anil, I think it will be tricky if you do that, because we are actually in reality some of the actions are already taken even before.
Okay. Okay, that's fine.
Because the offline was an action. Right?
Okay, that's okay. And action.
Okay.
Okay, we are on top of the hour. I think this is done. Let's if I cannot do the other one, which should be okay offline, we'll start here next week. Okay.
Okay. Well, we need to fix the numbers.
Yeah. No, that would be part of it too. So,
all right.
busy,
Okay, we're very close. Let's see if we can get there next week.
Yep. Okay. Good discussion, guys. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Yes.
Talk to you next time.
Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
Hey, Drew, can you end the meeting or someone?
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Drew, are you still here?